Naomi Keren is an Israeli journalist and former TV news anchor. She recently published the book La Senora, a historical novel about Dona Grazia Nassi, a Portuguese Jewish businesswoman who controlled a merchant empire in the 16th century and became the richest woman in Europe. For a decade, Keren researched Dona Grazia and her world until she finally finished her novel and came to talk about it right here in our studio. Hi, Naomi. Thank you so much for coming in.
Hi, nice to be here. Thank you.
So I've said a few words, but can you tell us more about who Dona Grazia was?
Well, I think she's a very interesting woman. That's why I spent 10 years of my life with her.
I would like to think that that's what you thought.
Yeah, definitely. She was born a daughter to a Marano family, which means her parents were Portuguese who were forced into baptism. So she was actually born in Lisbon in the beginning of the 16th century as a Christian under the name of Beatrice de Luna. And her life, look, she headed an empire of a spices trade, world trade of spices all over the world. But she moved through different identities, personal, cultural, religious identities through her life.
Right. Also geographically, she was... Right.
She was born a Christian and she was buried as a Jew in Istanbul. Now, in between, for 50 years, she crossed the religions. Part of her life, the main part of her life, she lived as a Christian from the outside point of view, but inner Jewish life, secretly, all the time under the threat of being found out by Inquisition.
Right. So she was aware of the fact that she's from a Jewish family.
She was, probably only since she became 13 or 14, because these kind of parents who were actually professing Judaism inside their home, they lived in fear, so they didn't tell their children until a later age.
Can't trust kids.
You couldn't trust anyone. Even her sister, went to the Inquisition and said, look, my sister is actually living secretly as a Jew.
Right. That was as part of a quarrel over
heritage and money.
Right.
The huge sums of money.
Some
she
things
was
never
lending.
change.
Look, money and family doesn't go so good together. She was the richest woman at her time, and she lended money to Henry VIII from the English court, and to the King and Queen of France, and to the Ottoman Sultan. So there was huge sums of money involved.
Right. So she was obviously a major player, a political player at the time.
Yes, she was.
Did the fact that she was Jewish came into play in any way?
They all the time knew that she was Jewish, but they couldn't prove it. If they could have proven it, the Christian kings in the Christian areas where she lived, if they could have proved it, they could have confiscated all this huge sum of money. So it's all the time a game of hide and seek and of double meanings. So they can't catch her, so they lend it from her. But she actually runs away slowly through a few years, and she was born in the West, in Lisbon, but she's heading to the Ottoman...
We are seeing, by the way, pictures of
the synagogues.
Synagogues from the
which
area.
She probably never saw in her life, because she was baptized at the
went to church,
of course, and she was married at a church in Lisbon.
Her heart was...
But she's headed to the east, to the Ottoman Empire, because that's the only place that at the same time you can live your life openly as a Jew, although you were baptized as a Christian.
I see. Now, if I move the focus for a second from Dona Grazia to you, what prompted you to invest so much time in her story?
I think she was an extraordinary woman of her time. There's also this connection of identities, because my mother was born a Christian, not a forced Christian.
Okay.
That's my personal story, okay?
As far as you know. Not a forced Christian.
No,
okay.
I know. We have a family tree, a Christian family tree, which dates back for 35 generations.
Oh, wow. Okay, I won't argue with that.
No, it's not arguable. And she decided to tie her fate with the Jewish people.
Right.
It was a conscious decision.
I see.
Now, I was born to this family, a converted Jew and a father from, East European. And you have this discussion with yourself all the time. What are you really? So I think that's how, her story, when I came across it by accident, it connected. So that's the combination. But I actually fell across a medal of her in Paris, in a museum of Musée de Judaism.
Oh, right, with her image.
Yeah, with her
supposedly.
Image. Supposedly. In the end, it turns out that it's not. It's actually her niece who has the same name. But it's a medal with a portrait of a young woman from 16th century, which has a name written in Hebrew letters. And that was fascinating to me. So that's why, how I came across to the story, and then the things just combined.
Well, it's a fascinating story, and I'd like to thank you for coming in and telling us about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
The city